Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Kiyahidi, Global Thought Leader at Kantar, and I'm delighted to be joined here today by Ram, who is part of Consumer and Market Insights at Unilever. Ram, welcome.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Please tell me a little bit more about your role at Unilever.
So I'm in the Consumer and Market Insights team at Unilever. I've been here a little over 14 years. And in this time, I've had the opportunity to do different regional and global roles. And the last few years have been super exciting as well, where I'm part of a central of expertise, looking at all things relating to creative and media. So looking to understand how do we get better creative quality overall, as well as how do we drive better decisions around media so we are maximizing our media ROI.
Sounds like a fantastic role.
It is.
Here at Kantar, we've recently released a guide that debates modern marketing dilemmas. There are conundrums that have been polarizing the marketing industry for decades. And one of those is that debate between brand building and performance marketing and how to find the balance between the two. So please tell me, Ram, what does brand building mean for Unilever? And how do you ensure you find the balance between building a long-lasting brand and yielding gains in the short term?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of discussion, obviously, around the split of investment between brand building and performance marketing or short-term activation. Obviously, the most famous of this has been the long and the short of it, as written by Peter Fields and Le Binet. You do want to be building brands for the long term, but then there is a need to balance the long term as well as the short term. There is no long term without the short term, so therefore there is a need to kind of manage both of those. And I think the struggle that I have with a broad guidance of 60-40 or 70-30 or whatever we might want to call it is that it's not as black and white as that. There's a lot more nuance within that narrative. There will be an explicit intent to do brand building in certain campaigns and a certain explicit intent to do performance marketing in others. But when I'm doing brand building, I'm essentially trying to maintain and build salience, and I'm trying to strengthen my brand's association with category needs. When I do that, I'm also setting up my brand to have mental availability. Therefore, it is thought of when people want to buy. So in a way, I'm doing brand building, but it's also aiding, conversion and, add to basket and those performance activities. When I'm doing performance marketing, and I'm there, I want people to take an action. I want them to click and go to a retailer site and buy or add to basket. I'm also wanting to do that in a manner that builds my brands. So I'm maintaining consistency in terms of my brand codes, our distinctive brand assets, etc. Therefore, we continue to strengthen the associations our brands have, even at the point of performance marketing. And I think that's where we try to balance out the long and the short of it, where we actually are there are facets of each in the other one. While there might be an explicit intent for one or the other, there will be a facet of the other one included in that as well.
And you mentioned media channels a few times, and my question to you on that is how do you measure and optimize effectiveness across media channels?
Yeah, and I think it's the other one that like the long and short of it, Mary. I think the other one to balance also is the efficiency versus effectiveness, right? I mean, efficiency can very simply be looked at from a cost of media and some of those other kind of parameters. But then, to your point, there's a need to also then balance it out with the effectiveness that it delivers. Effectiveness, both in efficiency and effectiveness, both in terms of short term as well as does it help us build brands for the long term, and that's where we rely a lot on the analytical tools to kind of like market mix modeling, for example, to try and understand, contribution of different media channels, different levels of investment, different objectives that had an impact both in terms of our short-term sales, as well as, what was the impact it had on long-term brand building. And long-term brand building, measured pretty much through the Kantar approach of brand power, for example. That could be one approach where we look to understand that as a metric for long-term brand building, and we understand how the different media channels and levels of investment is helping us build that.
Okay, you mentioned sales, you mentioned brand metrics, integrated masterfully for best performance results. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mary.